open the meeting for the Board of Health on 10/21/2024 at 6 p.m. in the Charles Shepherd Municipal Building, 48 High Street, Warren, Mass. And that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast via our local cable access channel, WCAT, Facebook, and YouTube. If anyone in the audience is recording, please let us know. First thing on the agenda, do I have a second? I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion's been made second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is now open. The discussion regarding health inspectors' request to be removed from housing and inspections effective October 8th, 2024. Hi. Good evening. So you don't want to inspect our buildings out there anymore?
I think that based on the situations that arose surrounding the latest court hearing that was called, I think that it was very clear to me that there was a imbalance in expectation of me. And so until there is a better plan in place, I cannot in good faith be available to this town for housing inspections.
Okay. What kind of plan would work for you?
One with clearly defined boundaries, such as if I say that I am not available, I think the conversation needs to end at that. I am a contractor for the town. As you know, you have hired me as your contractor. As a contractor, I am not an employee of this town. I am not available at every hour of every day. As much as I make myself available to you, if I say that I am not available, there are other options that are available to you. So in that particular situation, there was a court hearing that I am not required to attend by law. But that court hearing could have been continued, a continuance could have been requested, or a conversation could have been had between myself and town council to determine why I was being requested. Not being able to have direct communication with town council makes things difficult, right? For you guys, for myself. But in addition to that, without a summons or a subpoena, I was not willing to drop what I had planned. Since August 1st, I had plans for those 2 days. Being told about court on October 1st, I believe that there was a court date on October 9th, was a much shorter time frame than when I signed up for classes on August 1st. So when I prioritize state licensing, I'm going to stick with it. And I think that part of what makes me a good inspector is my character and my principles. And I am not going to flex on my character or my principles. And I was hoping that there would be an understanding.
Okay. I certainly would like to see them do like some sort of Zoom meetings. I think Zoom would help out tremendously, and I don't know why there isn't. There's Zooms for every other thing out there. You know, things that you wonder why you're putting it over the air. Anybody can intercept anything over the air, but for something as people doing multiple tasks and not making a Zoom meeting, I think should be, hey, I'm doing the best I can.
Well,
Type deal. Yeah.
if I could also point out that there was no summons for my appearance, there was no subpoena. It is not a requirement of the courts for me to be present. It is a preference for town council for the inspector to be present if there are additional questions, if there are arguments that go beyond the negotiation, the mediation table. But at the face of it, there is no requirement for a health inspector to be present during normal housing inspection hearings. This particular one went off without a hitch. I was willing to go to court after my exam. I spoke with town council the day of court and was able to iron things out. He agreed that there is no requirement for me to be present and that it's more of a preference and it saves the town money if I'm there, so that they don't have to continue it and have another hearing date. The moral of the story is that that court hearing went very well. Agreements were made at the mediation table. We got the email today with confirmation of the court documents. So if we go back to the timeline, I stated as soon as I heard that I was being requested for court, I made it clear that I was not available for that day. And rather than opening up the line of communications for a continuance or to see what else could be done, I was demanded to drop this state licensing to go to court, that I was adamant I was not required to attend. So whether it's miscommunication, whether it's not understanding how court hearings work, it was very disappointing for me as your professional to be asked to give up a state licensing as a lead determinator, where there is a waiting list for other health inspectors. And I've been in this field for many years and have not had the opportunity to sit for that exam. I was not willing to give that up. To sit at court for 1 hour is all it took for town council to sit at the mediation table and get an agreement. And I took 2 vacation days off of my full-time job to attend training, which this town did not pay for. There was no fee for that training. And because of my error, I did not previously ask this board to pay for me to go to this training. So therefore, this town didn't pay for me to even go to the training, the hours for me to go. I was able to successfully pass the exam. I am now a licensed lead determinator with the state of Massachusetts.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea what you would see that could have worked, what would be different? Like, did you mention that you didn't have direct contact with our law firm?
I did. I spoke with the attorney Jeff Blake on the day of court. He did finally respond or reach out to me. I had left him a voicemail the Thursday before asking him for clarification and why I'm being required to attend this court hearing. He never called me back. When I spoke with him, I asked him to verify that he did receive my affidavit, my sworn affidavit that says that my inspection report is true and accurate. It was my attestation form. He did, and I asked him to verify that that is typically all that is necessary in my stead. That satisfies as my testimony so that I don't have to be present. And he confirmed that that was the case. So I think at a certain point, if you want to, I assume that you've called this meeting here with me today to have some sort of discussion or negotiation. I think I would ask this board to trust in your professional. And when I say that I am not available, for one, I'm not available. For two, if I further explain that I'm not available, nor am I required to attend court, I will absolutely attend court if I'm available. But if I explain to this board that I'm not required and I outline to you precisely every step that's going to happen, as I did in email, everything that's going to happen in housing court, I would ask that you trust that, because I was not trusted this time. And as you're a professional, I need your trust. If you don't trust me, then this relationship cannot work. So now that it has come full circle and everything happened in court the way I predicted it would, I'm asking you again to please trust me think that part of any negotiation that we might have should start with what it looks like for your housing inspector on an $8,000 a year budget. What are your expectations of me to complete food inspections, re-inspections, housing inspections, housing re-inspections, court dates? What are your expectations of me? And once you present that, then I think I can have I will be in a better position to assess and give you my honest opinion if I can meet your expectations or not.
How long have you been doing building inspections?
Since the beginning of my career, goes back to 2018, so generally short, but I did do my training in Fitchburg. I got my licensure, my housing certification out of Fitchburg. I did all of my practice trainings out there, so I got a pretty good handle on that. I worked in Webster, I worked in Brookfield, I worked in Warren, I worked in Sturbridge. I worked in Brimfield for a short time, no housings there. I have a little bit of experience.
Well, we certainly do appreciate it. Has anybody got any questions?
My take on this is, I think we just gotta come up with an actual standard description in writing, what situations, from housing to food, and then put it out. I would think that would be the way to go, sounds to me. It needs to be some type of actual procedures to follow with inspections, whether it be food, housing. I think that's
Tricia, would you be kind enough to write us up something? A form of what you think works for you, and we can discuss it further from there.
My only hesitation with that is that everything on my end for food and housing is detailed in the code. So the state sanitary code, the Massachusetts merged food code, they do give administrative guidelines. So in that, it's pretty straightforward. If you're looking for more detail, I could possibly dig into it, but I think that I'm asking of the board to put something together for me of what your expectations are. I know what my job is. I'm asking you what your expectations are and to see if I can match your expectations.
Well, that's exactly where I was looking to go here, is with, where's the handshake? Where's, okay, this is gonna happen like this? Communications in general, working it out, saying this is a case, it's open for this particular day and things like that, what happens here, so that we have a standardization of procedure, an SOP, standing operator procedure. And if you've got other things to do, then it moves to the next block, what, yes or no. So, okay, we can put together something like that. And then we can review it from there. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
If I may, I would like to talk about the town's perspective of things and from the Board of Selectmen's, perspective of things in terms of inspections and how we're gonna proceed moving forward. So we have a better understanding and communication between both boards and a level of expectations in terms of, obviously, the town is gonna be investing quite a bit of money with legal fees for problem properties. We would like to see, a clear understanding from the town's perspective as to what the Board of Health is going to be doing and how the health inspector, health agent is going to be proceeding. I think that, the agreement that was written up in November of 2023 between the Board of Health and the health agent, it's pretty clear that says, should, you request any assistance with permitting, training, housing inspections, recreational waters, tanning, or any other inspections, the above terms would also be in effect. So, you know, is the board going to, you know, notify that, you know, the health agent, you know, of, you know, when they anticipate these types of inspections? I know I certainly did when Jeff Blake informs me that there's a court date on October the 9th. We were notified by the court. If you look at the order of notice that was drafted by the court issued that on October 1st. Jeff Blake notified me on October 1st. I notified the Board of Health along with the health agent on October 1st. So there's really unfortunate, there's no faster process that we can circumvent the Massachusetts trial court to, you know, to have them expedite getting us court dates. You know, I had indicated I had sent out that email to Jessica, to Don, and to the health inspector on October 1st. I didn't hear anything officially back from the health inspector till October 3rd. Also in that email on October 1st, you know, I did indicate, you know, Jeff's telephone number to call him, so that there's, you know, the level of communication between the health agent and Jeff for the impending court case that was coming up, so that there could be a discussion there. So, you know, I think the level of communication on our end was pretty good.
If I can please interrupt, your facts are partially correct?
No, excuse me, I'm talking to the chair. Mr. Chair, thank you, Mr. Chair. So, you know, these are the emails that were sent, and so there was a notice that was sent, like I said, to Jess, to the health inspector, and to Don on the 1st when we were notified of the court date, along with a copy of with the notification and Jeff's cell phone number to contact Jeff to talk to him. Jeff had indicated when I had received the notice that he wanted the health inspector there. And the reason why he wanted the health inspector there was because in case there was some type of question that arose from the inspection, or there was a possibility of a settlement. And in this particular case, it appears as though that there was some type of an agreement that was met. But Jeff is to represent the town legally. He is not to make determinations on whether or not the agreed upon settlement is agreeable. He is just there to offer legal advice and to represent the town's interest. So that's why we rely on the health inspector, the health agent, to be there to answer any potential questions. Yes, it may seem benign. Yes, it may seem that it could be viewed as a waste of time if not needed, but it's there to set us up so that we don't have to continuing having court dates where it's costing the town money in legal fees and is really defeating the purpose of what we're trying to get accomplished here. So, you know, I would be interested to see what the board has, you know, in mind. You know, that I can tell you this, that the town does not want to continue to throw good money after bad and waste taxpayer dollars on legal fees if we don't have the support of the department. And so, you know, I think that there needs to be a clear understanding here as to, you know, what is going on here. It's one position that is dealing with this. This is the health agent's position. And this position deals with, obviously, food, it deals with housing, and deals with needs of the town. And I thought that, you know, we had this discussion back in August or July of this summer, and, you know, we talked about ramping it up with our inspectional services, at that particular time. You know, it was also mentioned that the Board of Health should come up with some type of revised budget request to compensate the health agent for these additional inspections. I'm still waiting for that. I haven't seen that yet. So, you know, these things, you know, need to be looked at. And so, you know, I think from our standpoint, it was brought to my attention that on this particular day, on the 9th, that the health agent was participating in a training on behalf of the town. You know, maybe that's not the case, but that was what was described to me at the time, that it was brought to my attention that the health agent would not be available. So, you know, I think that there could be some better communication in terms of, you know, what is expected. I definitely think that there could be definitely a need to understand how the Board of Health is going to continue on, and are they going to have a health agent, health inspector that is going to be available for court dates? You know, that's something that, you know, I'm sure we would like to hear. You know, and I did send a follow-up email also on the 1st to Jessica and to the health inspector and to Don, and saying that it was my understanding that the health inspector is participating in a training on behalf of the town. If this is the case, a court appearance would take priority over participation at a training. Please advise. And then again, I didn't get a response back until 2 days later on October 3rd. So, you know, these things are timely and matter, and you know, I think the town would like to understand how the Board of Health would like to proceed. But I think it needs to set a clear direction and expectation as to you know, having these inspections done.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, this is the agreement that has been drafted, you know, in October 28th of 2023. I think it spells out pretty much the duties and responsibilities that the health agent was going to be compensated for.
Is it possible then that what we didn't see was the fact that there could be a conflict of dates for things that could happen, things that have been scheduled, and then we get a court date to show up, and then that becomes the priority? So then everything what if Tricia was on vacation? Let's try that one.
Well, I mean, obviously, if she was out of town, out of the area, you know, on vacation, had another work commitment, you know, that's totally understandable. That's another thing. You know, I was told, under the impression that the reason why the health agent wasn't available is because was participating on a training on behalf of the town. So if that's not the case, then so be it. But you know, if that was the case, then the court appearance would be the priority.
So going forward, this could have just been, this is something we're going to at least learn from and try to stop from happening again, and move forward, that if the housing inspector has other commitments, that, hey, this is what happens. It could be a 50-50 thing. If we're trying to save the town money by not having their legal department show up twice for one court case, then somewhere in there, it's very possible they may not be able to make it, or something like that. So, but of course, they wouldn't charge us more, but,
Well, if town council if Jeff Blake wasn't able to make it, they have an army of lawyers.
okay.
Okay, so they could send another attorney to cover on behalf of Jeff. But here's the thing, you know, what's important to understand here is that, you know, these things become very costly and very time consuming, And that, you know, it's important to understand that the, you know, the Board of Selectmen recognize that there's a need to address problem properties and want to address problem properties. And I was asked to submit this to town council, which I did. And town council had put this together and was able to get these court dates. Court dates are not determined by me. Court dates are not determined by Jeff Blake. Court dates are not determined by the Board of Health. They're determined by the Massachusetts Trial Court, unfortunately. So, you know, those dates, those are the dates. You know, it shouldn't come as a surprise because we knew that these court dates were gonna be coming up because the board had asked for me to forward these to the courts, which were done months ago. So, you know, I think that there needs to be an understanding as to whether or not we're going to have a health inspector that is going to do this part of the job.
Hold on one second. Tricia, were you aware that these court cases, you have to show up, or under your past experience that you weren't necessarily, like you said, I forget how you explain it, but it's not necessary for you to be there?
I'll explain it this way. There is no requirement to be there. I was not summoned, nor was I being subpoenaed. There is no requirement to be there. We have to go through town council because we can no longer represent ourselves in housing court. We have to have town council,
Okay.
okay? Beyond that, I don't have authority to make decisions on behalf of this board. I am not a health agent. You hired me on as your food inspector. You asked me to conduct housing inspections. I have done that. Me going to court does not give, I don't have the authority to make decisions on your behalf. I can be there, I can guide them towards, listen, they gotta correct the violations. That's the extent of my authority. You as a board have not granted me authority to make decisions on your behalf. So with that, it is moot for me to be in court because I don't have the authority to make decisions on your behalf. At that point, town council has more authority than I do because they can work, because they are working on behalf of the town and for the benefit of the town. If you would like to move forward with negotiations, I would suggest that you add in swearing me in and giving me, or however you do it, give me the authority to make decisions on your behalf as your health agent. Otherwise, I'm still just your health inspector who can conduct inspections, who can write correction orders, but I don't have authority to make decisions on your behalf.
Mr. Administrator, we're learning a little bit more here than we should have discussed. This is above and beyond what we discussed when she came on board. We were possibly just so happy to see her come on board that all these details weren't discussed in length.
Well, I'm confused because, you know, this agreement says, you know, food inspections, it says permitting, training, housing inspections, recreational waters, tanning, and other inspections. So I'm not sure, you know, if you asked the inspector to inspect the house and to do the report, and that was the person that signed the affidavit saying that, you know, these were the violations, and then town council asked for the health inspector to go, you know, obviously the health inspector can participate and answer questions as to, you know, what are the violations that were, you know, written up in her inspection.
Okay. Tricia, we're going to discuss this at another time. We're gonna put all these little things we've got together here and propose them to you, and let you know that this is what we'd like you to work with, and if it's possible, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may too, the selectmen would like to get an understanding as to what's gonna happen with the board and what the board would like to do. So could you please notify me as to how the board would like to proceed and, you know, what are some of the details that you're going to have, if you're gonna have a health inspector or not, because, you know, I don't think that the board is gonna wanna you know, forward any more problem properties to town council until we get this resolved.
Correct. The Board of Health has no health inspector or building inspector at this point in time. We're going to discuss on how we can work together out there, but she submitted her resignation. So, do you have any idea on how we could put this together?
Well, I'm not sure, she submitted a resignation on what?
She was doing,
Of the housing
It was
inspection.
not a resignation, it was a request to be removed from housing
oh,
inspections.
okay, that's a request.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the board can, you know, can review the request. You know, I will say it's one position. You know, it's not, we don't have an inspector that does just do food and an inspector that just does houses. It's one position, so, you know, that's something that the board's gonna have to take some time to consider and think about, as to what they wanna do.
That statement there of the one position, that's kind of gets me a little bit.
Mm.
Because more or less, I'm hearing she's a contractor. You know,
Mhm.
it's, we have that funds, we should be able to, because we have a public and health nurse, we have Title V agents. We
Yeah.
have multiple people pulling out of
You have a health inspector, that's it.
contract.
Right.
And it's never had any kind of monies in it for a line item as a building inspector.
Building inspector?
But,
Housing.
No, housing
housing
inspector.
inspector.
I don't know what you mean by that. I mean, this was all done under the health inspector, is how this town is operated.
My feeling, if
So where does the housing inspections come from, if it doesn't come from the health inspectors?
It was coming from the committee members. Dan?
Okay, so again, I have to reference the meeting that we had over the summer, and I thought that meeting was that we were going to have the inspectors, as part of inspectional services, fire, building, electrical, health, all be one that are gonna be doing the inspections. And so if they're gonna be doing the inspections, then obviously they're gonna be compensated out of the appropriate accounts. So if that has changed, please let me know, and let me know what the new terms are going to be.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at putting together a plan to encompass everything our health inspector has done with us, and then wants to graduate into the housing, and to compensate that line item in my budget for that, because I haven't had to pay anybody to do that.
Health inspections, food inspections, housing inspections, all come out of health inspectors' line item in the budget. That's how it's always been. There hasn't been a line item for just houses, there hasn't been a line item for just food. It's all been out of health inspector. So, I'm not sure where you are with the budget with that, you know, what bills that you may have outstanding. But you have I believe it's an $8,000 budget, is that correct, Jess? And so, that's what you have. And, you know, that's what you need to work with. You know, at the discussion a few months ago, when we talked about having individuals do these inspections and have an inspectional service team, and have an email that goes out that shows that all of the inspections and the problem properties, and a shared file that can be looked at by multiple departments. Those were all good things that were talked about, and that's where I thought this board was headed, in that direction. And so I think that, you know, we need to take a look and to see if that's changed. Okay, then what's the new approach, what's the new model? If that's the same model, well then, You know, we gotta make sure that somebody is doing the housing inspections, and the food inspections. And following through with them all.
Yeah. And what kind of, what has to happen, how that's done, and what happens if this happens, all those scenarios would have to be worked out to, so that everybody's comfortable with working in that capacity. You know what I'm saying, by any chance?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, it should go without saying that if you're writing something up and, you know, there's no resolve to it, and you've now asked for it to go to court, there's gonna be a court date. And the people who are involved in it are going to be expected to go.
Yes.
I have a full-time job, as you know. I also own my own business. I have never told you that I'm not available to this town, except for this one time. Your experience with me for several years has been that I am always here. I was not available to respond to your email. I was on the phone with Jessica in between meetings for my full-time job. She did respond to you, and I was able to respond to you on the 3rd when I had time. I do have timely response. If you are not satisfied with my response time, please let me know. I am not going to be able to meet the expectation that I am available every 5 minutes for this town. When I have an obligation, it's a full-time career, I own my own business. If your expectations are here and I can't meet those, let's have that conversation today.
Does it seem like the actual protocol of it has to go through the actual board rather than another aspect of the town?
I'm not following your question.
The order would come from directly us rather than another department or another entity in the town?
You telling me that I need to attend something?
Yes, only,
I
strictly.
work for you. You are your own separate board. So yes, I work for you. You are elected officials of the town. So if you tell me that I have to be somewhere, then sure. But also, there has to be a give and take. And if I say I'm not available,
Okay.
it is correct that this file was submitted to the town administrator in June. I believe we spoke with town council in June, and I do understand that it does take some time to get court appearances. But I also know that continuances happen, and if I wasn't available, that could have been continued if it was still required of me from this town for me to attend. Continuance was an option.
So then let's just get right to the point. It seems like, are we going to go, just like it said here, Tricia said, is that when you call, I gotta go, or is there flexibility here that if I've got other appointments, it can be stopped and we'll pick it up whenever, at another day, should that happen?
I just want to caution the board, you know, these problem properties are a serious matter in town, and I think there's a lot of people in town that want to see these things get addressed, and so I was really excited by the board's willingness to, you know, to support this idea when we rolled it out over the summer. But it's not going to work if people are not available for court, and if we have to continue these cases and cost the town more money in legal fees, it's just not gonna work. So I don't know if this model is gonna be the appropriate model, but, you know, that's up to the board to decide.
Well, in order to move what you just discussed, getting these properties taken care of, in my opinion, Tricia's the best that we've got at this point in time to resolve these issues to the best of her ability and to work with the town. Whether or not the town can meet this criteria that, hey, it's a give-give situation here. then will be up to the town. You have to ask the selectmen, do they want, this is what we've got, this is what you've got, this is your best.
Well, I mean, you know, that's certainly up to the board to decide is what they want, how they want to handle it.
Which board, this board?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want,
This board would have to make a description, protocols to follow. That's basically.
That's basically what we'll put together.
well, I mean, you would have to put some type of, you know, if you're gonna amend this agreement here that that is, I guess, is on file, then, you know, I don't know what, you know,
I
I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, really.
I'm trying to accomplish a working relationship between my vendors and the town.
Well, we need a vendor that's gonna be available.
So whenever I look at the description here, she did everything she's doing. The only thing that happened here was that the availability became an issue, and that wasn't discussed. We never discussed what happens if something like that happens in real life. So if that's what's holding up, like I say, the selectmen on, if they want to maintain a strict order that this is the person we're only going to hire to put in this position, no flexibility whatsoever, then the door's open. Then I'm looking for, then we gotta go looking, we gotta get the,
The health inspector is appointed by the board, I think Tricia had mentioned that before. So, you know, that's up to you. In terms of where we are with legal and how we're gonna proceed, we're gonna want a clear understanding as to whether or not there's going to be follow-through and cooperation from the Board of Health's perspective on this. We did what the Board of Health asked. I did what the Board of Health asked. We submitted it to town council. Town council came back with the date that was given to us by the Massachusetts Trial Board. The same date, we notified the Board of Health, we notified the health agent of the date, and we gave the number to talk to Jeff Blake with. I did get an email back, on the 3rd, from Tricia, and it was just basically saying, what she interpreted as a priority. So I think the priority should be coming from the board.
and again, what I'm looking for here is that we all work as a team. And when these issues come up like this, that there's a conflict of scheduling, we're gonna have issues. If a select board wants to say, hey, there is no issues here, this is the way it is in stone, then I've got to put out flyers out there and look for somebody that can agree to that. Other than that, I need flexibility in this position.
Could I please add that I was available after my exam, and I did speak with Jeff Blake that day of court, and I let him know that I was available after my exam, which I anticipated would be around 1:30, 2 o'clock. He agreed that if they could not come to an agreement at the table, that he would request a continuance to 2 p.m. that afternoon. So the argument that I'm not available is again refuted by the fact that I made every attempt to meet the expectations of this town, despite the fact that I had made it quite clear to yourself, to the town administrator, to Jessica. I even left that voicemail for Jeff Blake on Thursday before court and never heard a response back. So my communication did not fail either. It was miscommunication or a fail or breakdown of communication of everyone. Ultimately, we ended up getting an agreement at court without me being present. So I think at the end of the day,
You did your job.
I didn't fail my job.
You did your job.
I would argue that.
Thank you very much.
The job was done and an agreement was made. Like everything is a case by case, every inspection is different.
And I am not saying that I would not go to court.
So, Mr. Administrator, that's what the Board of Health is going to put together, will be a description on flexibility to work as a team and for flexibility in meeting these court dates. If the selectmen then choose to make it in stone that there will be no flexibility, let us know then. We'll put a flyer out there, look for somebody that can.
No, I just think we need to understand what the expectation here is, and again, I think it's a communication issue, where, you know, look, if the Board of Health is asking for a referral to come down, and to go to court, then there's an expectation of the board that whoever signed off on the inspection is gonna have to be made available, for that case, and to go to court and to see it through. And that's it. And then the Board of Health needs to, you know, address any inequities in their budget, because, you know, I imagine that there's a lot of problem properties out there that needs to be looked at.
A lot. A lot. Tons. It's incredible. Absolutely. Some of them are scary. So back to the issue. I'm looking for the best way to handle this, and it's going to take, again, in my opinion, a give-give situation. We're all going to have to work together here.
Yeah.
So if the selectmen feel any differently, then they have to let us know that the position is, there's to be no flexibility. If that meeting gets scheduled at a court date, that person's gotta go.
We do not, Mr. Chairman, we do not control court dates.
Correct.
The selectman doesn't, town council doesn't, nobody does.
Correct.
I thought we did a pretty good job when we were notified on October 1st. Everybody else got notified that a court date was coming on October 9th. So, you know, as we continue to grow and as we continue to move down this path and as we continue to have cases referred to town council, I think it's critically important to understand, everybody understand the expectation here. And the expectation is, and will be, is that when there is a court date, the inspector has to go.
And I believe that's been put on record that she had said that
Okay.
earlier in the meeting.
I
Okay,
understand
good.
that that's the expectation, but if that is clearly the expectation and there is no flexibility, then unfortunately I cannot fulfill those expectations. I have a full-time job, I own my own business, I'm available to you as much as I possibly can be. For the very small budget that there is, I'm available to you almost as much as an employee of this town would be. But I'm still a contractor, and I'm going to let you know that if the expectation is that once there is a court date set, there is no flexibility and I must attend, I cannot meet that expectation. I will not meet that expectation. I will go every opportunity that I can, but I have vacations, I have business trips, I have my own classes and consulting. I have other obligations that would take priority over a court case for the town of Warren.
So I think this is a valid point that Tricia makes. I think the board needs to take this under advisement, and to try to see, you know, where the impasse here is, okay? I think, you know, as we continue to move these cases through housing court, you know, there's gonna be a need for somebody to make sure that they're somewhat available here to move forward.
If I could just please, again, just speak for myself here, I'm just going to let you know that there's a little bit of a wordplay going on, and there is no requirement for courts for a health inspector to attend. That is a request of the Board of Selectmen or this town.
No.
If you guys support that as well, then I'm telling you, if you're asking me to be available for every single court date, I cannot meet that.
Mr. Chairman, it wasn't a request of the Board of Selectmen, it was a request of town council. And I believe Tricia had also got that same email that was sent to Jeff Blake because I forwarded it, and it says, you know, that the health inspector be made available in, at the court date as well. Town council asked for Tricia to be there.
So then maybe, we need to discuss this with town council,
I don't think.
to see if there's any flexibility, and, Mr. Administrator, if the town council has an army of lawyers, and I've got one person, my hands are tied.
Right, it's a tough position. I'm not saying it's not a tough position. The position that Tricia does is a tough job. It's a tough job. And it requires, you know, unfortunate level of, you know, somewhat flexibility when it comes to court.
I agree. So that's what we're here for, to find out, is there flexibility in this position, or is this written in stone that this is what happens? And as Tricia's saying, that there is nothing out there in the books that says that health inspector has to show up. It was done, like you say, by the law, by the
Request of town council.
request of town council. So, therefore, their request isn't something as a commandment, it's going to be as a request, just how it is.
Well, here's the thing, and this is what it needs to be understand, is that when Jeff goes to court, he represents, obviously, he reads the inspection report, and he takes note of all the violations, and, you know, he'll try to navigate, you know, as best as he can through the process. But he's going to need, you know, the inspector available if there's a question on the inspection aspect of it. If there's a question as to, you know, would the inspector be agreeable to this type of agreement? He needs
Let's
some.
call it a working relationship.
He needs some guidance. He needs guidance from the inspector, who ultimately reports to you guys, the Board of Health.
Yeah, I agree. All that's there, we're just looking at, again, the flexibility in how all of this can change in a phone call. If Jeff, at some point in time, can go, okay, well, look, Tricia, what will happen here is that we'll go up in front of the judge, and if this happens, can you be available? There's a working relationship at that point in time. And it worked. And that's all we're putting out there, is that these communication things happen at different times, and at sometimes the last minute, and it comes together. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, what I'm hearing is, I'm hearing two different things. I'm hearing one from the health inspector saying that she's gonna try to make herself available, but can't guarantee it. Is that not correct?
She's doing the best she can. She absolutely. If she's got other commitments, then if she's in Portugal or something like that, who knows? Then no, she's not gonna be able to make it.
Right, but, you know, this
But that
particular.
would be set in advance,
Right, we would have to have some type of,
and say that you're unavailable, and then that you would have to change the dates, right? Something.
yeah, it would, we would have
Extended,
to, we would have to
right?
know.
That's possible.
Yeah, again, you know, from the interpretation that I got, okay, from your office, was that there was a training going on, and that the agent, or the inspector was going to be participating in the training on behalf of the town. Well, I guess that was somewhat true, you know, and my argument there was, hey, look it, court is more important than the training. And The only thing that I received back was, you know, kind of a debate between what is more important. And I think that debate needs to be held by the board. And I think that this is a good level of communication that we can all get together to try to understand everybody's expectations moving forward. And I'm gonna be very clear, it's the selectmen's expectations, it's the town's expectations to not waste taxpayer money on legal, when we need to make sure that when we go to court, we're ready. And if we're not ready, then we're not gonna send the thing to court.
Or it gets extended, right? If that person isn't available.
Well, extended would mean that Jeff would go to court theoretically and have to ask for an extension. And that would be more money.
No, but if it's say on October 1st, it was said, no, can't do that date.
Right, I mean, I got no clear indication from anybody that yes or nay, somebody was going. It wasn't until the day before that
Well, what
I
would be the
finally asked
process of-
Don, is somebody going? And Don says, no, I don't think so.
There was a response, though, in email from Jessica to you on the 1st, just maybe 15 to 17 minutes after your initial email, telling you that I was not available and that I was going to be in court, in class.
Right.
And because I have to work, because I work directly for my board, I was not going to respond to you directly without speaking to the board. So I had conversations with the chairman, and it was determined that he asked me to reach out to you and explain to you my interpretation of how court would go for that particular case, which I did in that email that you referenced, saying that it was more of a debate. It was actually more of a prediction of how that court case would go, and I was accurate and spot on. And I argued, my argument to you was that sitting there and witnessing due process was less of a priority to me, in my opinion, than going to this lead determinators training, field assessment, and exam that would then license me with the state of Massachusetts as a lead determinator. So when you take that as anything different, it's confusing to me.
Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to announce Jessica is a new lead determinator too. We gotta recognize her as well. She passed her test too. Isn't that great? So, you know,
Which I appreciate you saying that, but I want you to understand what a lead determinator is, because without the authority of the board to do inspections, it has nothing. So, you know, and I'm not criticizing you at all, but this is an addendum to state sanitary code, and it enforces the Massachusetts state lead law. So it is an important thing for me to have under my belt, and this is no discredit to Jessica. She did do the training, she did pass the exam. But I don't understand, I'm not understanding, and I think that I'm just befuddled.
Mr. Administrator, the reason why Jessica went to it was that,
I believe it was the board's discretion, right?
that's correct, yes, sir. I felt it was very important for her to know how this goes with the past problems we have had with lead inspections out there. And did you learn a wealth of knowledge out there?
Mm-hmm.
So that, but what we do know is that she's a member, she's on the payroll of the town. So if she goes out there and does this, then my liability is just increased, because now, whatever she may say, whatever may happen, if she knocks over a $15,000 Victorian planter down in West Warren, now the town's responsible. So, I need that knowledge. I need that knowledge to run my office, and I also need it in my inspectors to be out there with those buildings. Do you understand? I mean, you're all there, right?
I'm just looking from direction from the board as to, you know, how the board is gonna proceed. You know, if we're gonna have a housing inspector, or, you know, and what, you know, what is the expectations of this, and, you know, is this person gonna be available for court? That's all I wanna know.
I can
So,
see,
so in conclusion here, we're gonna be working on a description that will make all points of what is needed, inspection, housing, everything.
You do have, Jim, here, you do have an agreement here, and it says right here, an existing agreement, that if the board requests to do housing inspections, that this person would do it. You do already have that there.
and she does. With affidavit.
But the town doesn't have one to match it back. This is,
I don't know what you mean, Jim.
the town doesn't have an actual job description or
She's not an employee of the town, she's a vendor.
of what we need, though.
Yeah, she's a vendor of the town. She's not an employee. So she doesn't have a position description.
Well, we'll certainly consider that.
I mean, you could certainly make this a little bit more specific. I think that there's definitely room there to spell it out a little bit more and to be fair to both sides. I think there definitely could be that.
That's,
Well, that's where we're gonna head, and to make it a win-win situation for everybody, in the best ability that we can.
Mhm.
What we've got to work with, the best we've got to work with, and for what we want to accomplish here in the town.
Okay.
When's Dana gonna be back in town, Jess, would you know? Dick, would you know if two people can take over, making that discussion and making it a, sure, if two members, what's it called, a quorum? So then we can have a quorum, so Jim and I could do it if Dean can't be available. Jim, when's the next time you could be available for a meeting? We'll try to put this together. Today's Monday. Pick a date. Let's try to get this out of our way. And Trish, can we call you if we have any questions?
I am traveling for work this week and next week, and I will try to be available between meetings.
You're a road warrior. Okay. It'll probably take us, and then, I guess, Jim, we can evaluate it from there to see, if it meets the town's expectations, and we can revise it from there.
Sure, you can forward it over to me when you're ready.
All right, sir. Jim, yeah, let me know whenever you're available for a meeting.
do you want to do something this week, or
Actually, I was
something next week?
next week would be
You
better.
want to do next week?
Yeah. Next week would be much better.
You want to shoot for next Monday, or?
Monday, yeah.
Are you good with after 4 sometime?
After 4 sounds great. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah.
How about next Monday?
Next Monday?
Want to do 5?
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Kind of a working meeting.
Absolutely. We'll put a lock on the tap. So does anybody have any questions on how this is gonna come together? Everybody happy? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good to see everybody. Have a good evening.
Anybody have any questions?
I think everything's been said for now. I think our next step is to come up with a description and then represent.
I have a question. For further knowledge for myself, when the health inspector submits a correction order to town council that hasn't been dealt with, isn't that the guidance that she's giving to town council? Like, isn't that what town council is trying to argue and put in place for her?
I would say yes to that, for the little bit that I know, Jess, for the little bit that I know, that's more or less like giving an instruction booklet. Here's what I saw, this is how this goes together. And, boom, you take it over from the courts from there. What do you think? So, yes. So, just like she says, it's out of her hands at that point in time. It then becomes
I think all of
into the legal stuff. And, I see. All right, I don't know. Does anybody know of any town, unless you're, I would think unless you're an employee of that town, then that would be your duty to show up for that. So that there you are, you're Mr. Board of Health, you got this cute little car with magnetic signs on it, and a couple bullet holes here and there, and you drive around, and this is your obligation, you're going to show up at the courts. From there, if you're not part of that network, and you're a subcontractor, I would think that separates you right there. And that you've got to put a little pressure, a little bit more pressure on your legal department than you do on your subcontractors. I got subcontractors out there, wonderful people, wonderful, you need them. You need them. I've seen people go on the payroll, poof,
I
they ain't got a
know,
clue anymore.
I know our shared services grant has an open position currently for a health inspector, and they're unable to find one. There's no one that can.
There's not very many
That's actually
inspectors.
available.
And the other thing, I've looked around too, different parts of the state, they're regionalizing, just like relying on
one
very few
person to
people
do
of wanting
a lot.
to do a lot.
I am going to argue, because that's what I do, you're gonna have a difficult time finding someone to be at your beck and call for $8,000 a year for all that you have in this town.
I clearly understand, I understand that.
Oh,
But
so are you ditching us as a food inspector as well?
That is up to the board. You have hired me. I have not submitted a resignation yet.
Well, my feeling is, I'd really like to keep you honest, this whole issue here with with housing is something, I'm gonna call it, there's just details to be worked out. And I'll reiterate again, it's just flexibility. Everybody's gotta be flexible here. This is not one of those positions where, this is what happens here, this is, in my opinion anyhow, you're going to do this is gonna happen like that. People have multiple tasking, things to do, they're in different positions, whether or not they can make it or not for that. Boom, you're really putting a challenge to that position, and you should really change it and make it a full-time board member then. And, we ain't got that.
Can I ask one more question, again, for my further knowledge? You guys as a board have that authority right now to make that decision, and if that's something how you feel, and if you're in agreement, and we know how important having a health inspector with all the issues in town, how important that is and how valuable that position is. I mean, you guys have the authority to make agreement with Tricia right now, right? Like,
Well, point taken, But what it seems like right now with the town administrator and the board of selectmen, there is a conflict of interest on whether or not Tricia shows up to these court cases.
And
And
the
I-
other thing is that that's an issue that's going through another board. We
Yes.
have the say.
Yes.
So you have to
You're in
actually-
charge of this board, and
You know-
it's not like this is something that is on a repeat offense, this is a one-time occurrence, cause life
And
happens.
the case was solved,
Um,
the,
Everything went the way
Yeah.
that we had hoped and had wanted it to proceed. Obviously, if something continues to occur in that nature, then everything can be revisited again, but I don't feel that that's in her nature to want it to be that way. Like, she was willing to do that if it was an hour later or whatever, some other agreement that, you know, didn't conflict with a licensing that was very important. Just total observation.
I agree, she worked it. She worked that. Jeff got back to her. If people ain't gonna get back to you, what do you do in the first place? You know, you put in a phone call, what are you gonna do? I'm gonna call him again, and again, and again. Don't be a pest. You put in a phone call to him, forget about it. So finally, the guy gets back to her and says, okay, I'll do this then. Why didn't you tell him? Jim, and if Jim was aware of that, at that point in time, that, well, look, Jim, we don't know what's gonna happen here, so, hey, if I need her, I'll give her a call. Okay. Would we be here today?
I'm still confused as to how there was miscommunication when Jessica responded back to the town administrator within moments of his initial email, saying that I was not available, and the conversation just kept going. So if it's a matter of saving the town money, that didn't happen either, because of all the hours that I spent trying to sort this out. I did not charge the
and
town for the
it would have
hours.
ended if you would have said, you're not available. And then they would have said, okay, pick another date.
I didn't charge for the hours that I was in training, but I had to charge for the hours during training that I was
Yeah.
dealing with, trying to sort through this.
So that's the clearest thing to identify, to say, you're unavailable or available. And that's the flexible side of it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that, you know, you're sick, people get sick, people vacation, people,
And
there's
then,
tons of things, we do events through the town, it rains, we cancel this, we cancel that, year of cancellations.
that's the way I
So
see it.
it's-
It's just one of those positions where it's not full-time, it's not part-time, and it's like, hey, this is what I can do for you. Other than that, once it goes beyond that, and you're going to want me to go to court, I feel that that's really challenging the position. You're really challenging the position, especially that whenever you got, legal, that should be able to go in there and go, look, I believe in this. This is the affidavit. What more do you want? Where am I getting lost here? Am I getting lost in a place? So, that's why I'm bringing up the selectmen, if they're the ones that are challenging our position on to make this position a position that works because of, you're gonna be there, you're gonna jump when we say jump. Or can you have that kind of flexibility?
They don't have the power.
There you go.
We
So-
do.
So then let's do that, you're right, okay, let's do that. Let's challenge them. This is what we're gonna do then, we're gonna put together a worksheet that, you'll agree with. We're gonna put it together, and we're gonna go, this is what we are, this is what we want, this is the position. And, you'll review it, make sure it's got your John Hancock on it, and, then we'll see if they wanna review it from
And if
there.
there's something that, you know, we could maybe go back and forth on, we're willing to,
To see if they've got, maybe they got a misunderstanding on.
not so much them, us.
Us,
You know,
yeah.
us, I feel us
Yeah, you do you?
strongly. It's
I
It's
don't
in our
know.
our court.
Okay, all right.
Dan would be included too.
Then, let's put it together, it's in our court, we're gonna put it together that we, so then, knowing that, do we feel that, whenever the legal department says you're going to be there, does Tricia have to be there? Let me ask you that,
If she's available.
if she's available.
That's a flexible, if. But another thing too, you could happen, she could get sick. You know, that day, unable to come. What do you do in that situation? What do the courts do when
So-
some show up due to sickness? You
Yeah,
can't get there.
yeah,
Got in an accident getting there. There's tons of things that can happen.
yeah. There are times whenever, I know my truck won't start. 4:30 in the morning. Okay, then, you're all set with that, Trish? You're all set, Jim? Jess, you're all set? Thanks for showing up. Then we're going to make a motion to adjourn the meeting for the Board of Health on, Monday,
21st,
October 21st,
7:18.
7:18 PM. Thanks, Jim. Motion made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is made and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
The meeting is now adjourned.